we got to get to the Barry Trotz stuff. Because yesterday, I did listen to my old station for the interview that I used to do where Barry Trotz went on 102.5, and it absolutely cost me any faith that I had in Barry Trotz ever. This is what Barry Trotz, again, the Predators last year, they went into the playoffs 2 years ago in 2024, and people did not expect them to make the playoffs, but they did. Some of the younger players played a little bit better, and they were right there with Vancouver. They just couldn't score on the power play in the playoffs, and they were right there. So Barry Trotz goes out with all this cap space, and he signs Jonathan Marchessault, Brady Shea, and Steven Stamkos. And there is a thought that, hey, these guys are older, but they're battle-tested. They were good last year. This team will be good this year. They were not. Mostly when you think in the NHL, when you think you've got a team that's good and they're not good, the coach is the first one to pay for it. Because even though it may not be his fault, the idea is I can't fire the players, so I'll fire the coach. Barry Trotz did not fire the coach last year. And I asked him every week when he'd come on the program, you going to fire the coach? You going to fire the coach? You going to fire the coach? So then Barry Trotz decides at the end of the year to bring the coach back. And I told Barry Trotz on the program, I'm like, you're too loyal to the coach. That's why you're going to keep him, because you're a former coach and you're too loyal to the coach. But at least there was some kind of argument to be made. You could say, hey, we started off 0-5. We're going to revamp training camp. We're going to change our defense. We're going to reset. Everybody now knows the Brunette system. So when we come out here next year, we are going to be a different team. Now, I didn't believe that, but I at least said, hey, there's a possibility that that could be true. The problem is they're the exact same team they were last year. They can't score. They can't play defense. The goalie's not that good. And every move Trotz keeps making keeps blowing up in his face. And then I listened to the interview yesterday. It is obvious that Andrew Brunette is not going to get this group to play better. It's obvious. He's had a year and a half to get it figured out, and he hasn't done it. And if there was ever a time to fire the coach, your last game was on Sunday against the Penguins. You got your asses kicked. You get on the plane. You fly home. You get home. You fire the coach. You have a week off before you play Colorado on Saturday. That's when you fire the coach. But not Barry Trotz. This was Barry Trotz on my old show yesterday when asked, why are you not firing the coach? Take a look.
Why have you decided not to make a coaching change after another dismal start to the season?
Well, very simply, a little bit of I believe our coaches have done a really good job. A record may not show it, but they are coaching their butts off. And, it's the easy thing to, as I said in the past, it's the easy thing to do. This is a shared responsibility with the players, myself, and the coaching staff. So I put a little bit more on the it's a shared, like you say, a shared responsibility. So from a player standpoint, we need more from, we went out and got some players the last couple of years to add a little bit of offense, and they've come up a little bit dry in the front end. We've restructured our defense, got a lot younger on the back end. We've got 5 guys that are basically 25 years and younger, so there's not a lot of experience there, but at the same time, we feel that there's a lot of growth for them. So our plan hasn't changed, and the coaches and the management and even the players have been part of the plan, that we are in a little bit of a blend mode.
Okay. Any faith I had in Barry Trotz, I absolutely lost yesterday. I think he is completely and utterly clueless. And if I was Bill Haslam and I heard that interview, I'd be planning to change the general manager sooner rather than later. And here's why. I understand the philosophy of spending money last year, hoping to get a good team on the ice at the NHL level, while all the young players that you've drafted over the years, from Tanner Mullendijk to Matthew Wood to Brady Martin to all those guys, develop. Joakim Kimmel, just send them all down there and let them all develop in the minor leagues and juniors and everything else, and let's try to win at the NHL level. So let's sign Stamkos, Marchessault, Brady Shea. I understand that philosophy. The goal last season was not to be bad, but it did happen. And in the NHL, when you're bad and you don't expect to be bad, you change the coach. That's just what you do. Then after you change the coach, you see if a new coach can do better with the same players, and if not, then it is clearly the player's fault and you need to blow up the team. But not with Barry Trotz, because Barry Trotz says they're coaching their butts off. They're not winning any games, but they're coaching their butts off. And firing the coach, that's the easy thing to do, Barry Trotz says. That's not the easy thing to do. That's the only thing that makes sense to do. And let's use the real world example when talking about the easy thing to do. Let's use the real world example of a non-fatal gunshot wound. The easy thing to do after suffering a non-fatal gunshot wound would be to go to the hospital and let the doctors operate and treat the gunshot wound. It's also the right thing to do, because the alternative is you removing the bullet yourself, sanitizing the wound, and then sewing it up. That's the hard thing to do. It's also the stupid thing to do. And this is pro sports. And what Barry Trotz, and I don't think he understands this, because I am convinced he does not have a clue. I don't think he realizes when you tell the fans, hey, our coaching staff is coaching their butts off. These players are playing their butts off. We're just not winning any games. And then you're asked, are you going to do something about it? And you say no, that you're basically saying, hey, fans, go buy tickets, pay full price, but I'm not going to change anything to put a winning product on the ice for you to watch, because that would be the easy thing to do, and I have too much pride. That's what this is about. Barry Trotz has too much pride. It was admirable to an extent that Trotz, a former coach, wanted to give his pupil a second chance. But he's had the second chance, and they are 31st in the NHL. You don't get a third chance in this league. And what this all does, again, his stubbornness, his pride, his lack of self-awareness, coupled with the UC Saros contract and the Yaroslav Askarov trade, both of which have absolutely and predictably blown up in his face, it paints the picture of a stubborn guy who doesn't know what he's doing. Barry Trotz is just flying by the seat of his pants. He extended Alexander Carrier before last year, and then midway through the year gave him to Montreal for a bag of peanuts. And now he's trying to tell you that he believes in the bag of peanuts. He had the 5th pick in the draft, and he picked a guy who plays the hardest, because that's what every coach wants. I want a guy who plays the hardest. Not the guy who's most skilled, not the best goal scorer, not the best talent. No, he picked the guy who plays the hardest. That interview for me yesterday was the final straw when it comes to Barry Trotz. I have lost all confidence in Barry Trotz to be a general manager. And I've lost all confidence in him, because it feels like he's living on a remote island where common sense and the way things are done in the NHL just don't seem to matter or exist. I like Barry Trotz. He is a good man, and he was a good coach for the Nashville Predators. And I was glad when he won the Stanley Cup in Washington, because I felt like he deserved it. He's been very good to me, and I've had to have many uncomfortable conversations with Barry Trotz over the last couple of years. but I just don't think this guy has a fucking clue. I remember talking to Trotz last year before we had him on the day of the trade deadline. You know, when the Predators traded away Luke Shin only for Pittsburgh to turn around and trade him away for more 10 hours later. And I told Trotz, I said, the fans think you don't have a clue. And he was like, why? And I think that why probably tells me all I need to know. I'd move on from Trotz. Again, if Barry Trotz had done what every other general manager in the NHL would have done, which is about November 1st, realized, hey, I gave Andrew Brunette a second chance. We had a revamped training camp. We had optimism coming in here. It's not working. Sorry, he's fired. Peter DeBoer's in. I wouldn't be on here railing about the fact that I don't think Barry Trotz knows what he's doing. But the fact that he can't do what every other team in the league would do tells me that if you can't do this, then I need to find somebody who can. I'd move on from Trotz, and I do what I have been begging this organization to do forever, which is to move off of the Predator way in which David Poyles and the feelings override results. Again, this is an organization who felt like they could still compete in 2020 and fired Peter Laviolette less than half a year removed from a 100-point season and a second consecutive Central Division title, and no matter how many games they lose, will not fire Andrew Brunette because of the feelings. The feeling at the time was Peter is holding this team back. And the feeling is Andrew Brunette is coaching his butt off. One person says, why don't you call Barry incompetent like you do Rant? Did I not just say he doesn't have a clue? Is that not the same thing? George says, will Jared hold a vote of no confidence for Barry? I don't need to hold a vote of no confidence. I have no confidence. I have no confidence. Adam Vingan, who texted me this earlier, said, don't forget when Jared said that Barry Trotz deserved until 2028 before we could judge him. And I said to Adam Vingan, I said, when it comes to Barry Trotz, that was with the understanding that Barry Trotz would fire the coach and try somebody new. Again, I can't make an assumption as to what Barry Trotz is going to do with the coach or not do with the coach. This would be like saying, well, you said that so-and-so was a good guy. Yeah, I didn't know that he had 5 assault charges before, but now that I know, it changes my opinion. My opinion on Barry Trotz was, hey, Barry Trotz, the first year they overachieved, the second year they underachieved. He's loyal, so he's going to give his guy a second shot, and he's going to do what all the teams in the league do, which is we give you the second shot, we don't see the results we like right away, we fire the coach, we bring somebody new in here. That is not what he did. That was, we're going to give him a second shot, he comes in here, he's got a second shot, and now he's still the coach. And I don't know how anybody in that organization can look at Barry Trotz and say, yeah, this guy knows what he's doing. I mean, I am sorry, but he does not know what he's doing. And again, and I know he didn't mean it this way, and I don't want to put words in people's mouths, but when Barry Trotz says the coaches are coaching their butts off, we all share in this, the players, me, the coach, and it basically says, I'm not going to change anything. He's saying, fuck you, fans. And I know he's not saying it. I know he doesn't mean that. Like, he's not sitting there every day getting ready for work saying, fuck the fans. But that's what it feels like. Hey, you guys pay full price for tickets. You have to pay $19 a month to watch this Forkakta channel that the team's on. And so you have to go out of your way to watch the games. You have to go out of your way to go to the games. You have to go out of your way to support the team. And the team stinks, and I'm not going to do anything about it. That is, again, roughly translated. And I know this isn't what he's saying, but it's probably what the fans are feeling. Fuck you, fans. That's what it feels like. So, again, you can want me to say he's incompetent because I said Rand was incompetent. I mean, this is incompetence. This is a guy who doesn't know how it works in the NHL. And he's trying to cross his arms and basically say, no. All the other general managers who fire the coach, that's the easy thing to do. No, it's the only thing anybody else would do, Barry. So I heard the interview yesterday. Again, I thought they did an okay job interviewing him. I would have been a little bit tougher. I would have been, I would have said to Barry, like, so wait a minute, you mean to tell me you're not going to change anything? So we're in the middle of year 2 of this, and we're not changing anything. And he would have gone on one of these long-winded answers about, we got to get the right guys in here, and we're changing our way we practice. But as far as the makeup of the team, the core of the team, the coaching staff, you're not changing any of that. And then I would have asked, so what is the message to the fans when you're basically saying, yeah, we're 31st and we're not changing anything?